Circus. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to answer a few questions about your experience teaching special needs kids in an inclusive environment. How are you today? That's excellent. Um, the class, as you know, is uh, special ed for the general education teacher. That means we're supposed to learn how to include special needs kids in our regular classrooms. We're not going to have the training of special ed teacher. Pretty much your situation. You're an art teacher. Is that correct? Right. And so basically, we want to understand your experience teaching special needs kids. Now, primarily, do you receive any kind of support from the special ed department inside of the school when you have those kind of students?
I do. You have to be actively talking to the teachers of those children, especially for the inclusion for the regular classes, 12 to 1, I'm constantly talking to Mr. Russo, and that also helps me get a better idea of the needs that the students need and how they're doing in their other classes. They're having their ELA, math, and what supports that they need. That's usually those teachers usually tell me what I need for modifications to do. Guidance counselor is also very helpful in SNAPOs. In if there's any knowing what's going on at home, usually with them, it always affects what's going on in the classroom. But there's not really a special ed department. It's just you have to talk, like, make sure that, and you have to actively seek that out.
Okay. So regarding the identifying the class, the teachers that are working with those students as special ed teachers and getting information from them, what kind of information specifically can they give you that will help you? Maybe you could refer to a specific example person or student.
Especially behavioral. I'm not going to mention the student's name, but let's call her A. A has as of recently had a lot of problem paying attention in class, has difficulty staying in her seat. So I went to talk to her teacher, and then I find out that her prescription for her medication that she takes every day has run out, and her parent has not refilled it. So keeping in contact with the other teachers, and then it also makes sense why she's having trouble paying attention in class and behavior, role issues. Then we refer that to the guidance counselor. I think this happened probably about a week ago. I think today it just got and I saw her this morning, and she was much easier to deal with.
So let's look at her in that situation where she's out of her meds and she's causing disruptions. How did you deal with it? What kind of modifications did you make in that circumstance, especially after you knew her circumstance?
Knowing that she's not on her meds, you have to be when you judge a child, try not to judge behavior. Look at the student, and I tried to figure out. I knew immediately that something was wrong, and I tried to figure out what was wrong. Why is the student acting differently? And then when I saw her acting differently, the way that I approached her was very different. I have to be very patient with her. I can't get angry with her. That I'm telling her 5 or 6 times, stay in your seat, stay in your seat. It's really not her fault that she keeps getting up and having any disruptions, and she really does care. I also, when she's off her medications, she tends to be a little more aggressive and a little more violent. So I had to give her a lot more space than I normally would. I was very aware of her spatial situation. And every time I went over to her, I would say, "Is it okay if I talk to you right now?" To try to empower her and just try to get her through those 42 minutes. Because I know the rest of the day will be very difficult for her.
Sounds like quite a challenge. Now, you mentioned other factors like understanding from the parent's perspective, and a lot of that goes down to kind of basically good teaching. And I was wondering if you know, the really importance of being a good teacher, such as keeping control of the classroom, or uh, doing things like contacting parents to keep them in the loop when the problems develop, or how much does that uh, help you deal with these special needs students?
It's essential. The parents that are involved, the children have much more greater successes. When the parents are involved, doesn't mean they're not going to succeed, but you will have to speak more and rely on your staff members, your guidance counselor,
Right.
your dean, and other things. But for example, with this student that we were talking about before, I speak to her parent a lot. Her parent is active, and that's one of the reasons why she is able to be successful. And I do get support from the parent, but not all cases you're going to get support from the parents.
What form of support specifically can the parent give to help you in your job, helping this kid?
This from the simplest thing as if it's a behavior issue, you call home and just having the parents speak to the kid, to the creating the dean has this sheet that has what they've done every day in class, and the parent checks off on it, so to make sure that the parent is checking in on the child. Also, it is important also to speak to the parent to know what's going on in the home life. Sometimes you can have a definite family, sometimes other things that you don't know about. It is essential for communication to be open and to have a way for the parents always to be able to reach. All parents have a school email address that they can reach me at. Call here anytime. We also have the Tuesdays, which are set up for parents. Any parent can come up on the Tuesday after 2:20. We have an hour that we sit here and we wait and meet with parents.
Now, through observing you, I noticed that you're very skilled at getting the students' attention and keeping them on task. In an environment where the kids are a little bit, in general, a general classroom where the kids are a little bit out of control, how much does that affect the performance of the special needs kids? Like when they're in an unstructured environment, what type of things happen to them specifically?
Well, of course, you got to realize that we have a lot of children that have attention disorders and learning disabilities, and sometimes when they're in larger settings, they have a lot more difficulty paying attention, and they might not get it the first time that you explain it to the class. And then, as you see, as I go around after I do the mini lesson, I will go over each group and assess and see if they understand. Ask them what they have them tell back to me what the project is, and if they know what the project is, that's great. And if they don't know, then with that little group that we sit in here before, do a quick impromptu lesson to them or catch them back up. So it's assessment is a huge thing in dealing with that. You really need to know, did your students get what they were supposed to get during class?
Great. Now, do you have any advice you want to give uh, a new teacher coming in? Because obviously the rules have changed, and inclusion is the new paradigm. So, what kind of advice can you give to a student that that wants to become a gen ed teacher, whether it be PE teacher or whatever, about how to prepare themselves to be more effective in special needs kids?
You definitely need to know about your students. You need to know about their needs. I would say that is the main thing. You need to know your students' needs by either looking at their IPs, speaking to other teachers, speaking to their parents, and see how are they doing in the other classes as opposed to your class. Then once you know what that child needs, maybe this child is an auditory learner, maybe they are a visual learner. When you find this out, then you have a greater chance of reaching that child. So I would say the biggest thing would be to learn your students and find out how to reach them. Also, in talking to your students, find out what they're interested in. So when you create your lessons, like you have a kid who's a huge soccer fan, then try to relate that in some way into the lesson, or showing pictures about soccer or something, like artists about that. You got to keep them interested. Um, when they are motivated and they want to be there, they can accomplish anything. Especially with the special ed students. Special ed students, they generally don't want to be here. They have trouble in a lot of their classes, and it is our job to motivate them. If you can find out what motivates that child, you will be able to accomplish anything with that child. I've had children come in here that have problems with school, and in my art class, they build confidence. I would say I view myself as a teacher of confidence in the art room. That's one of my greatest jobs, and I get kids to come in here. They don't believe in their abilities, and I get them to believe in themselves. And those children who I can do that with, that I can get across to, the ones who I have the biggest success with.
That's great. Now, you mentioned knowing the student, and part of it is understanding their personal circumstance and things like that. But sometimes you come across an illness that you might not be familiar with. Is there a resource at the school, such as a school psychologist or somebody that can inform you more about the kind of impacts that kind of illness or disability might have on a child?
First thing I would do is I would talk to the special ed teacher, one of our regular special ed teachers. They're very knowledgeable. I have a lot of them are trained. Have a DSM with them, a lot of the illnesses and stuff. Then I would go to the guidance counselor. Then we also have a social worker in the school, Mr. Wagner, and they would tell me where to go after that. There are a lot of services that push into the school that I'm not exactly familiar with the names. They would know the names of those programs, and then they can arrange for them to seek services outside and help their parents, whether they need to go to a psychologist or whatever situations.
So you feel that, even though there might not be a present support in your classroom, if you need information or you've never been exhausted in the sense of there's a resource I could go to find out more if I need it.
There's always going to be stuff there, but you have to be proactive and you have to seek it out. If you don't seek it out, it's not going to happen.
Okay.
These people don't know to come to you. You have to go to them and say, I don't understand this. Why is this kid acting up? And also, the guidance counselor is not going to know that there's a problem in the classroom. They're not in the classroom. If you don't tell them that there's a problem, you don't talk to the other teachers.
All right. Well, that's a very good advice. Be proactive and get to know your students. Thank you.